Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Synema Cinergy, where for every halfway original idea, I really gotta settle on an intro for this thing. It's maddening.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help you with an intro at all. I'm not that creative.
Something, even the public domain won't save you, and in fact will make the problem worse.
Yes.
We got a real treat this time. Funny enough, I have a very tenuous way to tie this back into the first Synema Cinergy we've done, now that we're a year into doing this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but we'll get to that. Anyways, I'm Cody, aka the Scarlet Troll, pronouns he, him.
And I am Greg, aka Sleeping Beauty.
Okay, perfect. And this is a show where we look at a movie that came out a while ago that's related to a movie that's coming out. And this is a real treat because right before recording, after we just rewatched this movie on Sunday, Greg turns to me and asks, metaphorically turns because we're on Discord recording this, and he says, what was the name of this movie again?
If you need an inclination of the kind of day I had, there you go.
Or the movie we're looking at. Because to tie into the release of Disney's live-action remake of Snow White, there's a funny little story in this one. I'm gonna go on another ramble. I was gonna do Snow White and the Huntsman because I didn't feel like talking about the original animated Disney movie because, I mean, what even is there to say at this point?
Yeah.
Anything we could say, somebody else has probably already said, but better. And that's probably the case for this movie, too. But I was gonna do Snow White and the Huntsman, and then a mutual friend of ours reminded me of the existence of today's pick, which is the 1989 or 1990 or 1993, depending on what market you're in, Filmation animated sequel to the story of Snow White, but very explicitly not the Disney version. Happily Ever After.
The whole year thing is completely wild to me, by the way.
That's what happens when a studio goes under before the movie's released.
Yeah, jeez, man.
No, so this was made by Filmation, the animation company that brought us He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, Star Trek the Animated Series, and the ever-popular Gilligan's Planet.
The hell is Gilligan's Planet?
You know Gilligan's Island?
Yes.
That in space.
Who gave Gilligan a planet?
No, no, it's called... it's for Synergy. Not the cinema kind, though. You know, a funny realization I just had today, I don't think I've ever heard the name Gilligan used, not in reference to Gilligan's Island.
I'd say I've definitely never met anyone given the name Gilligan, that's for sure.
Right, I've only ever heard it in reference to Gilligan's Island, and the horrible paradox here is I can't break the chain by naming something Gilligan, because now that I'm aware of it, I'm naming something Gilligan as a counter to that, so it's still technically in reference to Gilligan's Island. I'm trapped.
Apparently during World War II, the U.S. Navy did have a Butler-class destroyer escort called the USS Gilligan.
The chain is broken! Finally, yes! Alright! My day-long curse is broken. Much like the day-long curse inflicted on the protagonists of this movie.
For real.
Okay, some background information on this. Filmation announced that it was making basically a bunch of animated theatrical movies. They were calling it the New Classics Collection. And they were supposed to be a bunch of spin-offs of mostly public domain stories, and they had a slate. They had a whole thing lined up.
Yes, they did.
They were gonna be making The New Adventures of Pinocchio, Snow White and the Seven Dwarf Elves, The Challenge of Cinderella, Time Machine 2, The Man Who Saved the Future, Bambi, Prince of the Forest, 20 Million Leagues Across the Universe,
Okay,
Frankenstein Lives Again, The Further Adventures of Gulliver, The Son of Sleeping Beauty, L. Frank Baum's The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, The Continuing Adventures of the Jungle Book, New Tales of the Arabian Nights, and Alice Returns to Wonderland.
So this company was just hell-bent on making things that are just, if we do this right, by the skin of our skins, we won't get sued by Disney and we'll make so much money.
And they did get sued, and they only made 2 of these movies.
Yes, ignore the fact as well that the one that we're talking about, of those 2, only made half of its budget in the box office.
Yeah, boy howdy.
Boy howdy now.
The only ones that got made were The New Adventures of Pinocchio, which eventually released under the title of Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night. It's also not great.
Have we watched that one?
Yeah, it was a movie night you weren't there for. I remember that you were not there for that one.
Fair enough.
A lot of wood varnish jokes.
It's fair.
And then they were working on this one, I believe, no, I think they were working on both, and then Disney hit them with a lawsuit going, that's our intellectual property you're thefting, and Filmation said, nuh-uh.
Nuh-uh.
These stories are public domain, and therefore we can do whatever we want, and if they happen to bear some passing resemblance to your popular animated version, what are you gonna do? Sue us? And Disney said, bet, and then they went to court. They ended up settling.
Oh, okay. I say this all sounds like a particular Ace Attorney anime blooper where Phoenix Wright and the suspect are going through a whole thing, and at one point, Phoenix Wright's voice actor just says, "You're fucking lying," and the other guy goes, "Nuh-uh," like a small school child.
So Filmation went under before this movie was able to. I don't even remember if it started its releasing and then they went under, or...
What do you mean there was a video game? Oh, it was an unreleased NES game.
I was getting to that! I was gonna surprise you with that. You ruined it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, there was a planned NES game that was unreleased for Happily Ever After. Somebody got their hands on a copy and did a review of it, I think.
Oh, really?
At the very least, there's an article from somebody claiming they did. Who knows? But
Jesus.
no, in 1989, Filmation was sold to Paravision International. It was an investment consortium. Consortium? I don't know how you pronounce that one.
I don't know.
Anyways, ultimately they got sold to, of all places, L'Oreal, and they were not worth it.
Very good callback to people who probably only remember those commercials if they're our age or greater.
Yeah, because on February 3rd, 1989, Filmation's film studio was shut down, so L'Oreal actually only acquired the Filmation library.
Nice.
So getting back to this movie, Happily Ever After, or as it was called in production, Snow White the Adventure Continues, The Further Adventures of Snow White, or Snow White in the Land of Doom.
Snow White in the Land of Doom. Just Mick Gordon hitting those guitars in the background.
Also, Snow White and the Seven Dwarf Elves. That was another name it was known by.
Snow White just coming out there with a spacesuit and the super shotgun.
It only released in the Philippines and Italy in 1989.
Nice.
Then in 1990 in France. And in the US, it didn't release until 1993, which also happened to be the exact same summer where Disney did a re-release of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Disney was like, shit, they're coming. They're coming for us. We have to bury this movie.
Apparently, Disney had their release set first and Happily Ever After went after it.
Oh, wow.
I know, right?
Holy crap. That's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Also, the company responsible for the advertising campaign and merchandising effort to get this movie released, a $10 million advertising campaign, I should add.
By, 1980s money standards.
I mean, $10 million's a lot anyway.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a movie from a studio that went bankrupt. But, funny enough, First National Film Corp also went bankrupt just weeks after the film bombed in theaters.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a bankrupt-a-palooza surrounding this movie.
$6.8 million budget, and that's apparently not counting the advertising campaign.
Nice.
Made $3.3 million. And then afterward, First National Film Corp's president was found guilty of defrauding investors.
Beautiful.
I know, you love to see it.
Yeah.
You don't, it's terrible. God. What a horrible story leading up to an absolutely average movie.
Yes.
Because you'd really expect, for something like this, it's either the greatest movie ever made, or it's the worst thing ever made. And it's certainly not great.
It's not great. It's not even good. It's arguable that it's even okay. But it is also not the absolute worst.
It's short. I'll give it that.
It's short.
Brisk.
It is mercifully brisk. It's only, 84 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I was rewatching it one more time, just to make sure, because I wanted to make sure we had everything covered since you fell asleep during our rewatch.
Yeah, I may have fallen asleep for, I think, 10 minutes during this movie.
Yeah, but that's a solid whole, eighth of the movie.
Yeah, as I say, it's only been, 10 minutes is actually a lot for this film.
No, they're just entering the bad guy's realm and there's 20 minutes left in the movie and I'm just like, oh. There's been 2 bits of conflict so far.
Yeah.
So, God, I've delayed talking about the actual events of this movie as long as this movie's release was delayed. Several years. But the premise is that the Queen is dead, Long live the queen.
Bring out the effigy.
Bring out the effigy! Snow White and the dwarves are about to... No, Snow White and the prince are about to get married.
Snow White the prince. The prince is named Snow White.
Snow White the prince.
Okay.
They're about to get married. They're inviting the dwarves to the wedding. But they're set upon by the queen's equally evil, actually probably, maybe even more evil, I don't know. Her brother, Lord Malice, voiced by Malcolm McDowell, because somehow, this movie's cast is insane.
This movie's cast is better than this movie.
You've got Malcolm McDowell, you've got Phyllis Diller, you've got Irene Cara, you've got, Don DeLuise, sure, I expect to see him in this, and same with Frank Welker, but Carol Channing's in this, Zsa Zsa Gabor's in this, Jonathan Harris, oh, the pain. And Ed Asner as an owl with a rap number about being bad.
Yes.
That's one of the first things in this movie, and it's unprompted. There is no lead-up. There is no indication that it's coming. Just, there's a bunch of minions partying around the queen's castle now that she's dead, and these minions barely factor into the movie at all, which is so weird that they dedicated the first several minutes to these minions just fucking around.
Mm-hmm.
Malice shows up, demands to know what happened to his sister, finds out she's dead, turns into a dragon, busts out the window to go find the Prince and Snow White, and apropos of nothing, with no warning, Ed Asner just launches into a goddamn rap number.
Yes. Some would call it a pseudo-rap, but by the standards of 1989, where rap was still early, it's very much a rap number.
This is a 1989 rap number. All it's missing is, and I'm here to say.
Yeah. Honestly.
So, Lord Malice finds Snow White and the Prince very easily, fucks their shit up sideways a little bit.
Yeah, just a tad.
But then gets thwarted by, checked my notes, trees.
That's right, that was the thing that kind of fucked his shit up. It's like, I can't find you because there's trees. Wow, if only I'd had something to combat these trees. Maybe like something that generates heat. I notice that my mouth gets hotter whenever I breathe in.
Oh, wait, hold on. To be fair, we never see him breathe fire in dragon form. Maybe he can't. Maybe he's not a fire-breathing dragon. However, you'd think he could knock the trees down.
Yeah, either way, he's big enough to knock the trees down, or at least do some pretty decent deforestation.
Or fold his wings in and run after her.
Mm-hmm.
But then we wouldn't have a movie, I suppose. More's the pity.
Right.
So we get a very bland recreation of the scary forest scene from the original Snow White. Because this may not be the Disney movie, but they really want you to be thinking of the Disney movie.
Hey, look, here's some odd nostalgia bait, but we're better. We've got things. I don't know, I kind of lost trace of that joke in all honesty.
That's goddamn funny.
There was probably someone at the studio for this movie who's like, yeah, we have ideas.
This movie has too many ideas in it, that's the problem.
Yeah, I know, right?
So the prince gets captured, Snow White ends up finding her way to the dwarves' cottage, passes out, wakes up the next morning, finds out the dwarves actually opened up a new mine in the next kingdom, and their cousins have been living in their cottage instead, the 7 dwarf elves, all of whom work for Mother Nature and have been granted elemental powers.
Which is a terrible idea.
Honestly, you know what? I don't think that's a terrible idea, but the movie does nothing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just batshit insane. Snow White teams up with a bunch of lady dwarves with elemental powers who work for Mother Nature to save the prince from the evil queen's sorceress brother.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds cool!
That does sound very good on paper.
But this movie is not!
No, it's not. Because this movie just has things.
Just has things!
It has plans. Or at least the concept of a plan.
The dwarf elves barely have any kind of personality. It's pretty much, it's Sunburn, Muddy, and
Sunburn, Muddy, and...
I really blanked on Thunderella somehow, despite the fact that she's the most a character.
Yeah, she's the most prominent out of all of them.
And I still blanked. The other 4? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. I don't... Hold on. There's Marina, there's Critterina, there's Moonbeam, and Blossom. Those are the other ones. I think Marina got 1 line in this movie.
I completely forgot that Moonbeam existed in this movie for most of it.
Yeah, because she's just sleepwalking until 40 minutes in.
Yeah, she's sleepwalking until the main climax of the film, basically. It was a thing where, like, at one point I'm like, wait, there's only 6 of them here. Where's the 7th? And then she just meanders on. Oh, that's right. You're here too. Oh.
Never does anything. She's supposed to have power overnight. No idea what that means. She never does anything with it.
She's got the power. Or not.
But I don't know where I was going with this anymore.
Neither does this movie.
They go to Rainbow Falls, Mother Nature's, I guess,
crib,
where she's busy creating horrific monstrosities the likes of which the world has never seen, like a mouse with a door for a body.
Hi, I'm Mother Nature, and welcome to my crib. Here you can see my horrible creations against all living things.
You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it.
Mm-hmm. I was just imagining Mother Nature on MTV Cribs, and now I can't get that idea out of my head.
And then Malice shows up to taunt them, saying that he's got the prince, and that if Snow White wants to see him again, she's got to go to his castle in the Realm of Doom, where apparently he is all-powerful. Not even Mother Nature can stop him. She has no power there, you might say.
She has no power there.
Yeah. But this movie's got its own you have no power here, which for me is, you must keep your wits about you. Mother Nature warns Snow White as they're about to set off on their quest. Snow White proceeds to do nothing witty in this movie.
Oh god, no. Not in the slightest.
What is it Buzz Lightyear says? There seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time, they are being followed by this mysterious Shadow Man, the unholy love child of Orko and Ajala.
Well, that's descriptive.
Is he a villain? Is he a secret admirer? Is he secretly the prince transformed by Lord Malice? Obviously, meaning that actually Snow White didn't have to go to the Realm of Doom at all, and if the Shadow Man had simply attempted to communicate this fact, could have spared us a whole thing, because since they weren't in the Realm of Doom, maybe Mother Nature could have broken the spell. I don't fucking know. Also, Snow White calls Malice's dragon form a bird?
Man, you must have some weird-ass birds where you're from.
I guess, to be fair, she might not have seen a dragon before.
Don't get me wrong, I know that birds are the modern evolution of dinosaurs and all that, but Jesus.
I guess, to be fair, she might not know what a dragon is.
She evidently doesn't know what a bird is.
No, hold on. I'm gonna be a little bit fair to this movie, and some of the weird dialogue choices. If you didn't know what a dragon was, what's the closest approximation you would call it? It's either a bat or a bird. So, flip a coin. That's a pretty weird bird.
Fair enough, I suppose.
I'll give her that.
And that's it.
That's about the only benefit I will give her in this movie. So they go in the Realm of Doom. Right, the Dwarf Elves are trying to prove themselves because Mother Nature's about to fire their asses because apparently they're all grossly incompetent.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So they go to help Snow White in the Realm of Doom on Snow White's request. And Mother Nature's like, yeah, sure, okay, fine. You guys can prove yourselves, and if you do it, you can keep your powers. Their powers don't work in the Realm of Doom, apparently.
Yeah, they have no power there.
They have no power there. They proceed to be basically useless for the whole rest of the movie until near the very end where one of them finally steps up to the plate.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'd say I'm missing a lot, but there's really not much to miss.
This is a pretty fat-free movie, in all honesty.
No, this movie's entirely fat. There's no substance, there's no meat on these bones in this movie at all.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at, is that there's no additional substance to go with it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's fat-free, that means it's all fat. We also get the occasional periodic antics of Ed Asner's owl and his weird little sidekick, Batso, who... The movie tries to frame it as he's a nice guy who is bad at being bad, but actually he's just kind of a little fucking psycho.
Yeah.
He has no real empathy whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of sells Scowl out all the time, gives him shit. I think he's pretending. I think Batso is a real bad bloke, you know?
Batso is probably a sociopath that hides it very well.
I think you're right. I think you're onto something.
Yeah. If this studio did keep on going, and it still existed today, and this franchise made millions of dollars, I could see Amazon just making a mini-series about how much of a sociopath Batso is on the daily.
Well, it's funny you should say that. If I could pivot back to Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night, they were actually planning a spin-off about this movie's equivalent of Jiminy Cricket.
Really?
And a small village of bugs who he befriends throughout the movie, and they were going to call it Bugsburg, and I think some of the animation got released, but not a lot of it. So I could fully see if the studio had not gone under and this movie had not tanked, they probably would have tried to make a Scowl and Batso series. God, in 1990!
1990.
I hate it. I don't hate this movie. I'm a little too weirdly nostalgic for this movie to hate it, but I hate that idea.
There's only 4 songs in this movie, which is plenty.
There are only 4 songs, one of which is an Ed Asner rap number.
And it's called The Baddest, which might as well be the name of a rap song, too.
That's so fucking crazy! You could have called it I'm Bad. It's right there. The words "the baddest" are not said anywhere in that song.
No, they are not.
That's bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So Snow White ends up getting very easily captured because she wanders away from the Dwarf Elves to go talk to the Shadow Man, who is definitely...
not the prince.
Who is definitely not the prince.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he runs away, Malice is right there, captures her, brings her to the castle, decides to fuck with her a bit by pretending to be the prince, and despite the prince being very abrupt and callous and not very understanding at all, Snow White immediately falls for it. She must keep her wits about her.
You must keep your wits about you, for you have no power here.
Portal to hell.
and you are not worth it.
The Dwarf Elves break into the castle. They're fighting some of the minions without their powers. A bunch of weird slapstick happens.
Mm-hmm.
Malice is planning to turn Snow White into stone with a petrifying cloak, but the Shadow Man jumps back in. I don't know how he got there that fast, come to think of it.
Yeah, honestly.
Can he teleport? He should have kept those powers. He should have stayed the Shadow Man.
Mm-hmm.
Malice seemingly kills him. Snow White gets upset. Doesn't matter. Dwarf Elves show up, and since they don't have powers, they proceed to just throw hands.
Mm-hmm.
Blossom bites his fucking hand, which is kind of hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it matters, because then he just easily overpowers them all, and gets them all with one toss of the cloak, because they're all just standing in one spot. Wait, I lied. He doesn't get all of them. Thunderella gets away. And despite the fact that powers aren't supposed to work in the realm of doom, by overcoming her crisis of confidence, Thunderella is able to master her lightning powers, shock Lord Malice, which allows Snow White to put the cloak on him, and then he gets petrified. Turns out the Shadow Man is the prince. Once again, the day is saved, thanks to Thunderella, I guess.
We guess.
Blossom, in this case, is not commander and the leader.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I was looking at the script of the CW Powerpuff Girls. My apologies.
God, why did you remind me of that awful thing?
Now we're both cursed with knowledge.
Mm.
Now this is not a particularly great movie.
No, not in the slightest.
But at least it's brisk.
It is very brisk, but it doesn't taste as good.
No, it does not. It moves along at a clip, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely say there are worse things to watch, but there's also a lot better things to watch.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely worse things to watch than this, but that's also not the highest bar on the planet. Anyways,
I promised that I had a way to tie this into the first Synema Cinergy we did, which was Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh,
and boy,
really?
howdy, I'm gonna deliver. It's so stupid and tenuous, you're gonna love it.
Oh boy, hit me with it.
So, Filmation first had a live-action TV show in 1975 called The Ghostbusters, which, you may note, exists before Columbia Pictures' 1984 Ghostbusters.
Yes.
So, once the movie came out and was a big hit, Filmation decided they were going to make another TV show, this one animated, called Ghostbusters, and that's why the television show that's about Egon Array and Vecman, the reason why that show is called The Real Ghostbusters is a dig at this Filmation series.
Oh my god. Animation studio pettiness.
Right? That's just mean.
You love to see it.
They were there first, you know.
True.
They even made an episode about fake Ghostbusters who were basically frauds as another dig at the Filmation one.
Complete apropos of nothing, and I promise that this is somewhat related just because of the fact that it reminds me of it. I told you about the diet supplement candy from the 80s called AIDS, right?
Yes, you have.
Okay, so apparently when the AIDS epidemic actually hit, the guy who owns AIDS the candy was quoted as saying, "Why should I change the name of my candy? We were here first. They can change the name of the disease."
Bruh.
Jesus Christ. So it's like, alright, that's a tie-in.
Bruh.
Well, for very different reasons, I kind of can't help but go a little bit bruh at the real Ghostbusters.
So I'll level with you. I kind of would have been curious to see the rest of these movies had they been made. I'm sure
100%.
they all also would have been
Horrible.
not great.
They would have sucked.
But it would have been something. It was definitely ambitious.
Right.
Ambitious if nothing else. You must give them that.
Mm.
But yeah, no, that's pretty much happily ever after.
And it is not happily ever after.
Not for us, who are cursed with this knowledge, and now you, who are also cursed with this knowledge.
Indubitably.
I really need to put the like, comment, and subscribe part earlier in the videos.
Like, comment, and subscribe. We're saying it now.
Yeah! Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, because it really helps us out. We appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching if you're still sticking around.
Yeah.
Next time, we're still figuring it out, because one option would be really funny, but requires me to do a lot of work in a short period of time. The other one is not as funny, but it's safer for me getting it done on time.
Yeah, so it's funny or sanity. You decide.
Yeah, that's the one. Let me know in the comments if you want me to suffer. If you think that's funny. Because you know what? It probably is.
Oh my god.
He can't help us now, and neither can Mother Nature. The answer lies in my castle in the realm of doom, and not even Mother Nature can stop me there. Anyways, bye everybody.
Goodbye.